That was how I was left babysitting our 1-year-old baby girl all alone. After this thing had happened, then my father-in-law's 2 sons, both of them, they perished on the Masvingo to Bulawayo road. They were traveling from Masvingo going to Bulawayo, and when they had an accident, it was a fatal road accident. Both of them, they died on the spot. After they had died, and when we had buried them, I think this was after 1 year or something, that was when my father-in-law, he just called me. He then said that he wanted to have a father and son conversation with me, and I told him that it was fine. He can come at my place where we were staying, that same house that he had gifted us at our wedding. He then told me that he could not make it to our place, but I was supposed to drive to his garage. So I left my wife back and I drove to the garage where his buses were serviced. And when he had called me, it was very late at night. I went there and I spoke with my father-in-law, but from the moment that I entered into his office, I saw that the old man was no longer feeling okay. He was no longer that energetic old man that I had known all of these years, because he was quite a man who was rude and stubborn. But when I entered into his office for the first time in my life, I saw him smoking a cigarette and he was drinking alcohol. Then he started telling me his life story, how he had started working for this other man who had a bus, and how he had managed to become a bus driver. After he had been a bus driver, he then became a bus mechanic, and how he had started his own small company by purchasing a taxi. And he told me a lot of things. That was when, out of nowhere, he said, "My son, I am about to die." When he said that I am about to die, I could not even understand. Before I could respond to him, he said, "Let me tell you everything. I want to tell you everything so that by the time that I am going to die, you will be able to take care of my daughter, because look at me now. All of this wealth that I have, who am I going to leave it to?" For my sons, he only had 2 sons, and his sons, they had died in that fatal accident. So he told me that when he started his taxi business, so after saving some money, that was when he bought his first bus. And after he had bought his first bus, his former boss then told him that in this business of transporting people, he needed to be strengthened. He was then taken to another traditional healer. When he was taken to that traditional healer, that was when he was taken to the shrine, and at that shrine, he was given the charms that was going to make his bus company to become a very successful bus company in Zim. And at the shrine, he was made to swear that after each and every 3 years, he had to make sure that his bus had to be involved in an accident, and in that accident, at least people had to die. And in the 3rd year, 3 people had to die. He said that he had been performing these rituals ever since he had started his bus company, and the rule was that the rainy season was not supposed to pass 3 times before 3 people had been killed in an accident caused by, and this road accident was supposed to be caused by his bus, or his bus was supposed to be involved in that accident where people would be killed. These people, the way that they were supposed to die, it was not like they were supposed to die all in one day, but the bus had to cause accidents, or it was supposed to get involved in road accidents whereby one person could die or 2 people would die at the same time. But on the 3rd year, 3 people should have died. So he told me that when he was made to swear this oath, when he was standing at that shrine, he thought that only 3 years for 3 people that he didn't even have any relationship with had to die. He thought that it was going to be easy. To him at that time, 3 years was quite a long time, and he never thought that 3 years could have gone by without any of his buses ever getting in a road accident. And he said that 3 years had passed, and those 3 years had passed without anyone being killed by his buses. And he said that during those 3 years he had even tried to cause some road accidents, but the last accident that had been caused by his bus, 2 women had been trapped in one of his buses when it had hit a cow while he's traveling at a high speed. Those women, they didn't die, they only suffered from minor injuries. And after the 3 years, it came to an end without him being able to provide the 3 souls that were needed at the shrine after each and every 3 years. Then the shrine, without any mercy at all, had claimed the lives of his 2 sons, and unless he was able to sacrifice 5 people all at once, he was going to die. That was when he opened the curtain to his office window. He then pointed at the workshop where all of his buses were parked, and he said, "Son-in-law, tell me what you see." Then I said that we all know that business has not been good, and all of your buses, they are parked here, Father. So what is going on? He then said that no matter how hard the mechanics had been working overtime trying to fix the buses so that they can quickly get on the road, but they had failed, because what was happening to these buses was that it would be fixed, and when it was time for it to go on a road test, then the bus will stop working and it had to be towed back to the garage. My father-in-law, as he was pointing at the buses, he then said, "Son-in-law, it is a week now after the 3 years has passed, and if I do not do anything, I am about to die." As we were speaking, Brother Nashi, that was when I heard something that was strange, as if there was something that was running in the ceiling. Then there was a strange clapping sound, like there was someone who had metallic hands who had just clapped whilst the person was standing in the ceiling. After that strange clapping sound, that was when my father-in-law stopped responding and he fell to the ground. When he fell to the ground, I then called the security to come and help me so that we can load my father-in-law into the car. He was still breathing at that time. I then rushed him to the hospital. When we arrived at the hospital, whilst I was in the waiting area, that was when my father-in-law died. He died without telling me what I was supposed to do with all of this information. When I told my wife everything that my father-in-law had told me, that was when she said that she wanted to move out of Zim as quickly as possible. Brother Nashi, all of those buses that used to belong to my father-in-law, I think that all of them, they just went to scrap metal. Those buses, Brother Nashi, they are no longer on the road. They just stood there until people started coming into the garage, stealing tires, stealing anything that they could steal. Years after my father-in-law had passed away, my mother-in-law also, she passed away. Me and my wife, we have been living in the UK ever since, and she does not want to hear anything about Zim. Dear listeners, right there was a message that I received. This message was sent to me by our dear brother, and we had to try as much as we could to give you this translation that was sent to us in Ndebele. Indeed, strange things do happen in this world.